What's happening, Delco? I'm Rich Shane, and welcome to the What's Happening Delco podcast. Today, I'm joined by Pat Dolan of Dolan's Bar. Pat, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you so much. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. You're taking some time away from Dolan's Bar. Pat, how did Dolan's Bar get started?
Oh, that's a good one. I had a very interesting grandfather who started it in the 40s in Jersey. He owned 5 gas stations in Philadelphia and bought them during World War II, bought illegal gas rations. He just had one of those voices who can walk into Sun Oil and say, I'm here to pick up blah, 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 lie about it. And he made millions of dollars during World War II doing that, and then blew it all at the racetrack. He sold them all VJ Day. He got busted by the federal government for doing it in tax evasion, and they didn't have the gall to put him away because the only fingerprints that were on the illegal gas rations was my great aunt, who was a nun from County Derry, and they took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and he had to pay, I think it was like $1.50 a week to the day he died. Otherwise, he'd go away. But anyway, he built a bar in Jersey, in Williamstown. His wife, who was from Derry, died in 1954. My dad was 13. And they lived next door to the bar. And he said, well, I can't live here anymore because he couldn't get the smell of roses out of his nose from the Irish wake that was in the house. So they sold that. And my grandfather, my father, and my aunt moved to Ridley Park. And it's been here since 1954.
I'll tell you what, I've had people share the origin story of their business and what they do. But that by far is the most interesting, fascinating. And I know that's the synopsis. And there's so many stories you probably have from your family to tell about those. He's a gas bootlegger. You know, he's starting a bar, and maybe some of those conversations. Dolan's today, you talk about, moving to Ridley Park. What can people expect when they go into Dolan's today?
It's a neighborhood bar. My father didn't believe in entertainment. I don't necessarily agree with that. But he used to say all the time, people would come in and say, do you have entertainment here? He goes, yeah, buddy. It sits right next to you. We call it a bar, but it is a pub or a public house to the true extent of the phrase. It is an extension of people's living rooms. It is, especially back in those days, like in the 50s and the 60s, there wasn't much entertainment. And people used to go to neighborhood bars, and Philadelphia was loaded with them. Philadelphia region was loaded with them. And that's where you would get your entertainment. And that would be swapping stories or watching, Ali Frazier, with a magnifying glass in front of the television so everybody could see it. And that's what it was. And Dolan's has evolved from that. We've remodeled 3 times, I think, over the last almost 70 years now. I tell everybody I hit the genetic dye bar lottery. And when I wake up in the morning, somebody, there's a very famous phrase that says the first generation sows it, second generation grows it, and the third generation blows it. And every morning when I wake up, I try not to be that phrase. And I'm the last of the Dolans. So I got a lot on my shoulders to a point, but it's all internal, My father was a very powerful and a very enigmatic man, and I had very big shoes to fill. I had a very interesting 20s. I partied my ass off, partied too hard, almost blew the place. And I grew up when I was 31. And ever since then, I went to Johnson & Wales for culinary. I'm a chef by trade. I teach it at Ridley High School now. I was teaching in Simon Gratz for the last 5 years, and I got sick of burying my kids. So I decided to move out there move my teaching career to Ridley High School. I'm thrilled there. It's what I've always been in, food and beverage. And I took the bar back over probably, 8 years ago. And we've been kicking ass for the last 5 or 6 years, kicking ass. And it's just a little bar, like very, very small. But we do incredible promotions here. A lot of really fun stuff that you won't see in any other bars in the area. I can guarantee you that.
Well, talk about some of those promotions at the bar.
Okay. For instance, we do once or twice a year, we do we call it the Wiffle Ball Classic. You come out to Dolan's, and it's always Mickey Morandini and another Philly that we get to come out and play. and we'll play wiffle ball with, Phillies greats out back. I'll spend a ton of money on to do it because the first time we did it, it was a bar bet between myself and Joe McGee and Marty McGee's. He never showed, by the way, and I hired Mickey Morandini for the team, and I saw like the lifetime memories that I made that day by paying him to come out. I was like, this is something. So I do it once or twice a year. It's very expensive, but people talk about it forever, and they always remember, hey, this is where I met Lenny Dykstra, or I met Tommy Green here, or, Hollis Thomas, or Lito Shepherd, whoever. We have a lot of celebrities to come out, and some we pay and some we don't. So it's a lot of fun. You don't really see that at neighborhood bars, especially in the suburbs. So we have our reach has gotten really big in the last few years.
When you talk about promotions, in a few days, the day after this airs is St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
And you have roots. I mean, you have roots. You go deep into Ireland. So talk about, if they're listening to the podcast on the 16th, what they can expect when they show up. Can they get in, by the way? But when they show up, what can they expect at Dolan
it's
Park?
The 17th, not the 16th, right?
No, but they're going to hear this on the 16th.
Okay, yeah.
And they're going to show up on the 17th.
This is an Irish American bar. However, I lived there when I was in my 20s for almost a year. I thought I was Irish until I moved there. Then I realized it was American real quick. It's exactly the quintessential Irish American dive bar, right? You're going to come in, you're going to see more Bud Light, or more Bud Light than you probably will Guinness, but you'll see a lot of Guinness too. You'll hear Irish music. MMR is coming out. They're broadcasting live from 4 to 7. Brent Porsche is hosting the party. You'll see some celebrities popping in and out of here. We'll have Ham and Cabbage. We have Brian Baru, pipes and drums coming, which is all Irish pipes and drums. We have Walt Lafty from Silvertide, who is a incredible musician who now resides in the Delaware County area. We have Nikki McGrath, Joey Sheeran, Danny Hilferty, all local artists. And we also have Tanglewood Barbecue coming out, who's a new barbecue place down the street in Ridley that came in. I think they're from Drexel Hill. But listen, I know food, Rich, and these guys are incredible at what they do. And they're new. I want to make sure that they stay in this town because they're that good. So I invited them to come up and sell.
We just had him as a guest on the podcast. That podcast.
Did you really?
The beginning of April. Yep.
Phenomenal guys.
Yep. So we're excited. And while we haven't tasted their food yet, their menu and what they have. So here's the deal. If we can get in tomorrow, I'm just going to start dropping names. I'll ask if Mickey Morandini will let us in tomorrow.
Yeah, you'll see me. Don't worry.
We'll try to swing on by, and it sounds like a great time. And
outdoor party mainly too,
because you can't fit everybody in. Right?
No, it only seats 35.
All right. I hope people already get a sense of the enthusiasm, the energy, the history, everything that this is all wrapped up into. But what it really says about Dolan's is this is a Delco community mainstay.
100%.
All those things that happen in life, in some way, shape, or form, get back to your roots, your neighborhood, where you come back to. And we could talk, like, I already get it, Pat. Now I know why people who are your friends call you PJ, but you're that easily likable, you're everybody's friend kind of guy. And that's why I see, while this has been a success for your family over so many years, you're making it even more of a success. What do you think in your mind, or where do you think you've made those improvements or that next level additions to what Dolan's Bar is?
Well, Rich, thanks for the compliment, first of all. Secondly, it's a generational thing. My father and mother had me at 40 in the 70s, right? And I remember they told me, a few times in my life that, like, look, the doctor was like, they didn't have children at that age back then. And the doctor said, well, you're taking a chance here. My dad's like, well, I gamble on the horses every day, buddy. I'll gamble on this one. I'm an only child. And they had me, I think it was 12 years into their marriage. Never thought they were going to have kids. They had a trip up to Cove Haven. You know what I mean? That's where I was conceived. My father had a different mindset. He was brilliant. I'd never seen anybody so quick and sharp with numbers in my entire life. there were numbers everywhere. You walk into my parents' house, and my father would have numbers written on phone books and on the wall, like always doing math. You tell him a phone number once and he would remember it. Like, he was just one of those guys, He was a bookie for a long time, it's just steeped in that old school mentality. And it's just a generational thing, right? Like, I think he'd probably be doing some of the same things that I'm doing now. You know what I mean? Just because, like, with different generations come different things. Like right now, like I said to you, like the entertainment value, there's no reason to leave your house. There's none. You have everything you could possibly want that any human being could ever possibly dream to have 50 years ago. You have now, right? The standard of living that we have has surpassed every civilization by tenfold, right? On a daily basis. So it's what's going to draw the public out that's a unique experience. And that's what constantly runs through my head. What can I do that's different from other places? Because I tell all my friends that are in the bar business too, like, bro, you don't sell product, you sell atmosphere, you sell experience. Like, to be honest with you, Acme has the same liquor license that all these neighborhood bars do, which are dinosaurs, by the way. They're all going away. Acme has the same liquor license as us. They sell beer cheaper than I can buy it for with the same liquor license. So we're already rigged. We're already in a system that is rigged against the little guy. And in a place like mine, if I told you my liquor liability that I pay for at Dolan's a year, your jaw would drop. I'm not going to say it out loud because I'm not a numbers guy. I don't like to brag or say, oh, this is what I spent, because that's not my thing, right? But never had a lawsuit. We've never, ever had an underage citation in 70 years, Rich, and it's still astronomical. So, like, you're really stacked up against the odds of you doing good in this business are astronomically low. The price is just like everything else keeps going up, but it's almost like we have way more of a hurdle to jump. We're not trusted in the product that we sell. We're not trusted by the state for what we do, right? We're very much. And don't get me wrong, the LCB is wonderful, but the laws that are on the books, and it's not their fault, it's the legislators' fault. Like the 17% liquor tax in this state.
See, the only thing missing, Pat, right now is you and I putting a beer or a cocktail in front of us, because this is what we would be talking about at Dolan's, right?
Of course.
We would be talking about topics of the day. There would be entertainment. We'd have conversations. What's going on with you? But see, that's the framework. And that's so appreciated to what you get to create, that a supermarket chain, whether you can pick up a beer or a six-pack and bring it home, that's all well and good. But you're not, as you pointed out, it's the memories, it's the atmosphere, it's the entertainment, the experiences that are only one of a kind. So if people want to have these experiences, how do they find you? Where do they go?
And the greatest tool that's ever been invented for the bar business, and that's social media. And it drives me nuts when I see other owners that post on there, Miller Lights, $2.50, come to happy hour. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You can buy it for $1 at Acme. Nobody cares. They want to know what they can do that's going to be different there. And that's what we do, I think, better than most. We're very, very good at coming up with unique. I'll just give you an example. So we do Quizzo. I started hosting it myself about 6 years ago. Quizzo is done everywhere, right? But I was watching American Pickers one time, and they're going, it's the second or third season, and they're going back to a house in Louisiana to check up on a guy that they, so they go back, it's a Friday night, it's Podunk Town in Louisiana, and the house is mobbed with people, and the dude's doing auctions out of his house on a Friday night. And I'm like, that's it. So now at Quizzo, when you come up on Tuesdays and Fridays, in between rounds, you bring your crap in, we sell it for you behind the bar with no consignment fee, and we auction it off, and it's a riot. We've sold raccoon penises.
All right, keep it
every
clean.
single kind of baseball memorabilia, football memorabilia you can imagine, old clothes, toasters, and it's hysterical. And you're not going to get that anywhere else. You know what I mean? It's things like that, creativity, things like P.T. Barnum type stuff. You know what I mean? Like get them in the door with this type stuff. Like we love doing that at Dolan's, and the staff loves doing things like this. So that's the kind of weird, crazy stuff that you see that's made us the most Delco bar. You know what I mean?
Who needs Facebook Marketplace when you've got Dolan's Marketplace?
Right.
Who needs Craigslist when you got Dolan's list?
I don't like Craig anyway.
All right. So where are you located and how do people find you?
24 East Sellers Avenue, Ridley Park, downtown Ridley Park. If anybody is familiar with the village of Ridley Park, we are across the street from, directly diagonal across the street from Double Decker. We have green and white stripes across with us, and there's a bar directly next door to us, which is our Park Tavern, which is a buddy of mine's place. He's been there for about 6 years. There was a bar there prior for 40. So a lot of times people walk in and be like, where's blah, blah, blah? Like, nah, you're in the wrong place. But it's right in the middle of the town. You can't miss it. There's a big parking lot out back that we have a beer garden at, that we do events at, and that's where St. Patty's Day is mainly going to be held Friday.
All right. And if people want to find you on the web, what address do they go to?
Dolansbar.com, Dolan's Bar on Facebook, Dolan's Bar RP on Instagram, and Dolan's Bar on Twitter.
All right, Pat, here's what I want. I'm excited because now I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions that I can't wait to hear the answers of.
Okay.
I mean, you're Delco, right? I mean, this is going to be fun. How do you describe Delco to people that are not from Delco?
Ooh. I think there's a brutal savagery and honesty with Delconians. And I think it translates into everything. You know, our love for our sports, our humor, our ball busting, so to speak. I think there is an absolute honesty and humor that's underwritten in everything. It's very Irish that way. You know, there's a sad savagery to the Irish people, and I think that Delaware County is kind of the same thing.
All right, you have a craving for a cheesesteak. Where are you going?
Oh, you know what? Little Hut's down the street from us. I've always loved Little Hut. Liberty, I love the Liberty Tavern's cheesesteak. Their pizza steaks are to die for. New owners now, but I hear it's still just as good. I'm a big Nick's roast beef guy and Toledo's guy. Both of those places I love.
All right, you took care of that cheesesteak craving, and you're jonesing for a pizza. How about a pizza? Where are you going?
You know what? I'm a little different. I like a thick Greek style. Like Double Deckers is good. Always like Double Decker. I like Imperial. I like the beach. I love deep dishes like Pizzeria Uno. Believe it or not, I will do that chain because I think it's done well. What else do I like? I love upside down pies, Sicilian pies. As long as it's good, I'm down for it. I really don't have like, this is my mainstay. Nope. If it's good, I'm cool with it.
You're out and about. You just left the bar. You need a convenience store option. Where are you going? Wawa or Royal Farms?
Neither. 7-Eleven or Ridley Park. Family owned and operated.
All right. You're the first one to go down the 7-Eleven road.
Yep.
But
that's okay. I believe in people.
Now, you have friends or family coming in from out of town. Where are you sending them, or where are you taking them to give them that Delco experience?
Food-wise, I love Nick's roast beef in South Philly, even though it's not Delaware County. But I'll take them to the one in Springfield as well, too. I love the Clam Tavern. I think it's done very, very well. That old traditional American-style cuisine is, again, a dinosaur, but when it's done right, it's so good. Lehman's was like that. I know they just reopened. Aaron Pub. As far as bars go, you name it. I mean, there's so many great bars in this area, really. Like, there's so many good little neighborhood tap rooms, like Mikey's and Don's and Eddystone. Don just celebrated, or Butchie down at Don just celebrated 50 years in business. He told his father that he would do 50 years, and Butchie didn't even realize that he'd done 50 years, and he walked into a surprise party 2 weeks ago. And just
that is so cool.
Yeah, and that family's been in the business for like 70 years. There's so many great little spots. Marty McGee's is probably the most beautiful pub in the county. It's really done well. Joe has done a tremendous job of turning that place from Naz's, which I loved it. There used to be a bookie parlor upstairs. Naz is a good friend of my dad's. It was like going to Goodfellas over there in the afternoons. But that, got shut down for a couple different reasons. And, there's so much cool stuff in this area. We have a great history. And like Delco wasn't a thing until 20 years ago, right? 15 years ago. I remember the Daily Times did an article called Philadelphia in like 2000, maybe 99. And it was about the expansion of Philadelphia, the second exodus of Philadelphia, and how Delaware County, especially southeastern Delaware County, is an expansion of Philadelphia. And I kind of believe that. Philadelphia is a city and neighborhoods, and Delaware County is just become an extension of that, right? I think of this area as Philadelphia. You know what I mean? I really do. I lived outside of the area, and when I tell people where I'm from, Philly. Now I might say Delco because it's a thing, right? But it wasn't then. So who knows? Now
you're Delco through and through, and it comes out. And I like everything you just named to do. I want to go on that tour with you.
Let's do it.
Pat, I'm curious, in your world right now, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed?
A lot does. In my 20s, I was an F up. I've been given everything my whole life, and I did really well. Even though I was a spoiled brat, I still did well at it. But I partied way too much, and I didn't really understand. It was almost like I had to get out of my father's shadow. You know what I mean? And thank God I did before he died, because I wouldn't be able to live myself if I didn't. You know what I mean? That has a lot to do with it. I want to be everything he thought I was. You know what I mean? And I'm so close to that right now. I really am. But I love giving back, and I love teaching. I love teaching. To me, like teaching food and bringing real life experiences into the classroom, there's nothing more rewarding. When you're able to pass, and I tell all my kids, like, my job as a teacher is not to make you a chef or to make you a bar or a restaurant owner. My job is to ignite your curiosity for something. That's it. Look at me as a beacon of somebody who loves to do what he does, and know that there's something out there for everybody. I had a college professor one time tell me that if you don't like your job or you don't like your spouse, you better sure like the ride in between, right? And it really is like, if you do what you love, you add 5 days to your weekend. And that's exactly how I live my life. Like, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning every day. I don't stop moving until midnight. And I go back to sleep and I do it all over again. My wife will like sit down and eat, and like, I don't have time, but I'm happy. You know what I mean? I'm really, really happy. And my downtime, like, I don't like to go out anymore. My downtime is at home with a book. Seriously, like at 44, I love a beach and a book and cooking. If you would have told me that at 25, I would have been like, you're nuts. But that's what your life turns into. You know what I mean? It really is. I like to decompress from people because I'm around people all the time.
I know you mentioned Anthony Bourdain, and yeah. I'm wondering for you, who are some of your mentors? Who are some of the people that kind of give you those ideas, or people that are saying, giving you those creative ideas that come to you? Yeah,
look, I'm a big believer in surrounding yourself with really intelligent people, or people that you look up to in one form or another, whether that's, I don't know, creative aspects of them, or even financial, whatever it is. I had a lot of really good tutelage throughout my whole life, with my father probably being the biggest, hands down, with the most influence of me. Frankie the Donna that owned the bungalow was a huge influence on me. Extremely gregarious man, just well loved. A lot of the old school bar owners, Bill Cook that had the Lagoon, Naz that had Naz's, the Iconas that had the McDade House. These were all family to me. Mike Gretz from Gretz Budweiser, huge influence over me. And now, like, I have a lot of friends in the business that I look up to a lot, like Joe McGee, Greg Hume, Jim Sloss that has the Frontier, who's Bill Cook's stepson that took over his vending business. He just got into the business, but I still look up to him in a lot of different ways, like discipline and things like that. As far as food goes, probably my biggest influence is who I worked for the longest, and that was Al Paris in Philly, who opened up for Coco and Circa, Oberon, Guru. He was an incredible chef, still is an incredible chef, but he doesn't have a shop anymore. He's done hanging shingles, as we say in the business. Just a lot of great people that I've worked with over the years, and I'm truly, truly grateful to have the education that I had. I went to Archmere. That was a legacy. My dad went there. I went to St. Mads grade school, and I was the rich kid whose old man owned a business in town, even though we lived in the 2-bedroom apartment above the bar. And then when I went to Archmere, where he went, I was the Delco Trash's old man owned a saloon. And I was in school with Ashley Biden and Kurt Weldon's kids and a couple actors and actresses, you know what I mean? So it was a real big dichotomy. So I have a lot of influence from my teachers at Archmere, some priests, Johnson & Wales, where I went to. I'm still very, very tight with a lot of the deans and the professors up there that I fellowshiped for when I was up there. Just I'm truly, truly lucky to have had so many people in my life that gave a damn about me, or that, you know, wanted to help me along the way and help me when, you know, I needed help. You know what I mean? And I believe in that. Like, I can't tell you how many people come up to me after my father died and said, you know, one Christmas I lost my job and your old man handed me $4,000 and said he didn't even want it back. You know what I mean? Things like that. And that sticks with me. You know what I mean? So when people ask me for help, how could I say no? You know what I mean? And sometimes you get burnt. You know what I mean? I'm sure I got a few grand out on the street that I'll never get back. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? So you have to, like, when it comes to these neighborhood bars too, especially when you go to Little Leagues, you don't see Acme on the back of them. You don't see Wawa. You see Liberty Tavern or Marty McGee's or the Fainting Goat or Dolan's Bar or State Street Pub, or, you know, that's what you see, because they go to those guys because they know that they're going to get a yes every time.
And they want to
go ahead, try doing that at Applebee's.
Yep. They want to go support the community.
Yes, because we care. And we also care more about our community than those franchises do. You know what I mean? Because we live here. We know our staff. It's not a P&L sheet on the Eastern Seaboard every week.
Pat, this is you really wrapped everything up in a bow for me. This is why we do the What's Happening Delco podcast, to be able to create that platform to tell and shine a light on people's stories. Your story is, there's so much there. And I hope people go back and listen to this podcast several times. And because there's humility there, there's lessons there, there's energy there. There are ways that you describe things that you're not going to get in a lot of different opportunities to tell people's story. I'm grateful for you taking the time to come on our podcast this evening. Thank you so much for being a friend of What's Happening Delco. And we can't wait to just, hoist a beer and toast your family.
Thanks,
and, everything that you're all about, whatever you're doing on the 17th of March, change those plans and get over to Dolan's. If you have not made any other plans during the week, you got Quizzos and you got the auction thing going on, where just bring your stuff, bring your Barca Lounger and sell that too. But Pat, thanks so much for your time tonight. And
thank you, Rich.
We can't wait to hear and see more of what's going on. Check out your socials, and all I can say to you is cheers.
You too, man. Listen, hit me up. We'll continue this conversation down the road, and I really appreciate you choosing Dolan's Bar for this interview. It means a lot, and I'm just starting to follow you guys now. Hit my radar a lot lately in my algorithm, so you're doing something right. You know what I mean? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you.